Damn, I really like where that one went. Cool. All right, hit me.
All right, this is cross-medium, but you'll enjoy it. I'm just going to say you'd be doing it as a manga, but essentially the styles and or themes of one Hidetaka Miyazaki, that is the man behind your Dark Souls, your Sekiro, oddly enough, your Armored Core.
My Armored Core, my Bloodborne.
Bloodborne, yeah.
All right, so here's just to begin with, decompressed comic. Super decompressed. Very little dialogue, very little narration. Here and there, certainly, most of the story is told through the illustrations. So that's just right off the bat, right there.
Cool.
But how detailed these illustrations are. He probably has like one fuck of an artist drawing this for him. I don't necessarily feel like I need to name like a name or anything like that, but Kentaro Miura, back from the dead.
All right, so some necromancy has occurred, and what are likely Hidetaka's real wishes that Kentaro Miura was still kicking.
Because, like,
manifest.
because there was never an opportunity for the two of them to work together in real life, as much as Miyazaki would have loved to have had that happen.
Like, as much as I am sure he would have dry snapped George R. R. Martin's neck for a free opportunity for
Now rise!
Something like that.
Open the gate to the realm of the dead with my life. Okay. So it ends up being a super fucking decompressed comic, illustrated by Kentaro Miura. May he rest in peace. Mm-hmm. Setting now. My fucking basic ass brain will always default to like one of 5 settings, right? Which is kind of dark fantasy, cyberpunk, I guess, the far future, the fantasy, but like maybe in a non-Western setting this time, except, and okay, the past, but not that far in the past. So those are like the 5 settings that, you know, sort of immediately spring to mind. So I'm just going to throw all of those out, right?
Okay, we are crumpling all of those ideas into a big wad.
I'm going to throw all of these out.
Paper.
This is going to take place in a world that is, at the very least, at first, indistinguishable from our own.
Cool?
Okay. It's definitely not our own, certainly. But we are never given that many explicit hints as to what it is, or, you know, alternatively, as to what it is not. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a story of an urban explorer, right?
Okay.
Our protagonist barely fucking talks. You know, some dude exploring the underbelly of a metropolis. And through his explorations, we sort of uncover things that happened. And I'm hoping that this translates well into manga form, because, like, we brought up Andrew Ryan earlier here, and I'm really fascinated with the idea of coming across a calamity after the fact.
Oh, I think you could totally do a very solid, like, manga rendition of that kind of thing.
Yeah, I like that. Like, coming from outside the context of this calamity, just like you are a visitor to this horrible thing that has happened, and no one is left to tell the story about what has happened, right? Mm-hmm. So you are, you know, here to piece the clues together for yourself. That's, honest to God, you know, kind of what Bloodborne is too. Yeah. Like it's what Dark Souls is. The horrible fucking things have happened. And you're here and you are in the fucking dark.
Yeah, Bloodborne, you definitely come into a situation where it's too late to save anyone.
No, that's off the table at this point. Now it's now your goal is to
pretty much vengeance.
Seek pale blood, transcend the hunt. Whatever the fuck that means.
They do love their vague prose.
So what ends up happening is this urban explorer in this metropolis that maybe it's Tokyo, maybe it's not. we're gonna go with not, but we're not really told at first. Because, the way that the city is constructed, it could be based sort of, on Tokyo. What Tokyo's cityscape looks like, what all the little idiosyncrasies of the city. You know how, like, you were talking about, when you went there and there was, like, a whole bunch of, like, sidewalks that are grooved so that, vision impaired people can find their way around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More of those are finally popping up in New York.
I'm finding those in New York. I get off the subway at J Street Metrotech a whole lot, and they've got those there.
Yeah, it's very nice.
So that's kind of cool. Like, you were mentioning those, and then, like, 2 months later, I saw them in New York. That was kind of fun. So you'll have, like, little things based on sort of the Tokyo cityscape, but the further you get into this, the more you realize that this is not, in fact, Tokyo, right? And something bad went down in the city not very long ago. But it was isolated, at the very least, to the part of this city that is being explored by, this protagonist. And this is going to have a pretty minimal cast, I feel like. I do not know that there's going to be more than, like, a dozen or so main characters, if that.
He is not known for the loads and loads of character approach, Mr. Miyazaki.
Mr. Miyazaki. Hidetaka.
Specifically Hidetaka, don't at me.
Not... But there will be a whole lot of dead named characters, certainly. And those will honestly be... Like, I like the idea of characters who don't even really have character designs being the main characters of a narrative. Such in the way that, like, you really...
Like the king back in Dark Souls. What's his name? The Kiln guy? It's been so long. Gwyn, yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, he only, like, he showed up for a second there as the final boss, and it wasn't even really him, right? Yeah.
Or something. I don't know. It's Dark Souls.
All I know is that he was really taking me to Slam Town.
God, that game was so fucking hard.
It hurt my soul so much to beat that game.
Apparently, I was told that Bloodborne was harder, but I had an easier time with Bloodborne than I did with Dark Souls. I don't know.
Bloodborne might be harder in a scientific sense, but what's the behavior it's trying to teach you is aggression, and I think that just comes more naturally to people.
Definitely to me.
Yeah.
Although I did play Bloodborne kind of cagey after a while.
That is a thing.
Cagey in a way, but, like, I don't know. I waited to strike. Like the snake. Like the woods full of fucking snakes.
I became a dark creature in that game.
That was... I came out the other side of Bloodborne, a different person. A person with 2 Bloodborne tattoos on my forearms.
Wait, what was the second one?
This is the moon one.
Yeah. God, I abused the fucking visceral attack health back thing so much.
Oh, was that Blood Rapture?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fucking love Blood Rapture. That's how you beat the Orphan of Kos, is Blood Rapture.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so fucking good. I'm getting distracted. Yeah. This is a pretty vague idea, kind of like the last one was kind of vague. I feel like that's how I'm going to be for this particular incarnation of this game, but I kind of like the ideas. I'm kind of into the ideas right now.
Yeah, you got some more ideas. You got somewhere interesting with it. Would you like to arbitrarily drop a name onto it?
I'm not great at that.
Cool.
That's honestly one of my biggest weaknesses as a writer, is coming up with a title.
Fair enough.
I'd need to know more about what this was about, and then, like, it could sort of have a name that's like, okay, yeah, that's somewhat related to what's going on here. Sort of like Dark Souls. You need to, like, really, really be into Dark Souls' lore to know why it's called that,
Mm-hmm. Demon Souls took a different approach. There was this monologue at the beginning, ending in the words Demon Souls. They're like, cool. Okay. All
right.
That's amusing. All right. Parami.
Okay. This is what I'm kind of excited for.
Oh shit. Let me crack my neck.
Bryke is hired by Amazon to do an adult animated series for Prime Video.
Bryke is hired by Amazon to do an adult animated series for Prime Video. Sorry, my mind is expanding out and I'm hearing the Mastodon music as I have visions.
I flew beyond the zone for it was time.
Great.
Or Netflix if it helps you. But I know that Amazon likes to go a little bit more prestige-y.
Netflix would trap me into making it shit.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So specifically Amazon here.
I would not be able to avoid dunking on the end, so to speak. Okay, so we're talking Bryke here, and when I think of Bryke and the things I like, haha, rhyming. I'm into their world building. I'm into their sort of general theme of maybe not everyone needs to be murdering everyone all the time.
Sure.
And I sort of like their way of sort of just building little character casts. What they do with them is not always pristine, but these are some of their strengths, right? Mm-hmm. And obviously, you know, just some of the old violence.
Yeah.
Which they'll have.
They're very good at that.
This is a military action space opera with an information warfare protagonist.
Cool. All right. So, Ender's Game?
Spacey, that's like, you're pretty locked in on Earth. I'm talking like distant colonies kind of thing.
Okay, interesting.
Distant colony, full tilt, like alien humanoid races chattering with each other. And essentially things are being marched to war by a conspiracy. The Empire of the day that we start with is a faction that feels deeply and legitimately wronged by the resolution of the previous war.
Okay.
And our protagonist starts the counter conspiracy. It's going to be high style. We're talking like Code Geass kind of things here.
All right, yeah. All right, so I'm sort of seeing this take shape in my head right here. Keep going.
And essentially, it's going to be a lot of this ultimately teenage because of their sort of tendencies. Figure trying to sort of wind back the escalation of this thing. I may even just do the full tilt Code Geass ripoff and have him make like a fifth column terrorist group in the situation. But the primary conflict is between, like, say, two spacefaring empires.
Okay.
And our protagonist... It's sort of like a Starjammers kind of situation, like pirate ship, because, you know, it's sort of old school adventure kind of thing.
Okay.
But our protagonist is a guy trying to do this, like, in-universe, like, predictive analysis kind of bullshit. Think numbers floating in front of Amadeus Cho in those old Incredible Hulk comics.
Well, what I'm sort of seeing here is, like, Gundam 00, except they don't have the budget that Celestial Being had.
Yes,
They're just trying to fucking stop this somehow.
Franz Ferdinand is probably dying in 2 weeks. They are on a ship. He's essentially running event analysis, trying to figure out where the hotspots are.
Okay.
They're going to try to stop things. Other people are irritated by these efforts. They will try to murderize them. That's our basic frame here.
Okay.
I think, given the sort of style of sci-fi I'm doing here, there's probably be some kind of like... I don't know if it's an obscure tradition or one he invented, but this idea, this kind of analysis... The idea of what other people would do with it would also be interesting, I think.
Okay.
I guess what this is in my head is not like the super psychology from fucking Foundation.
Alright.
But weebed to hell.
I sort of am into the idea of like it being this sort of martial art, or sort of treated like a martial art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're also actively concerned about the people who have this and are using this for, you know, less than productive ends.
Evil purposes.
And, you know, you could have a spectrum. I think,
well, it's like in Dune, just like psychic shit.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, oh man. Or no, not psychic shit, just like Mentats, right? Mentats.
Yeah. Like Mentat or Bene Gesserit shit. Man, my first read through the sort of difference between those two was kind of obscure to me. I'm like, okay, so...
Oh, I had such a fucking hard time with Dune. It's like I feel like we discussed it on the show before.
Like, I understood the factional difference between them in terms of, like, what they wanted, but the idea that their abilities worked differently, which they do, but not in a way that makes sense when you're 12.
Oh, my problem with them was less that and just more with, like, the fucking way he wrote that thing. It's... Yeah, Dune's a great fucking word for it because it's dry, man. Great world building, to be certain. Fantastic world building.
An event occurred. He, we all know how my style parodies go. We'll be here all week.
Well, it'll go on.
Now that I think about it, Bryke kind of like to do the evolving conflict or antagonist switch thing, which I like too. So we'll start that initial faction I was talking about. We'll have a sort of like barbarian horde tone and aesthetic.
Okay.
And it sort of comes to bear that they are a civilization with their own priorities and needs and yada yada. That maybe there'll be a hint of that sort of Solaris thing of learning to interact with a trillion alien intelligence.
Okay.
They wear their influence, honestly. So let's steal from... I'm sounding like a coke addict right now. But I kind of want to steal that new type thing where it sort of becomes about connections between people, maybe more on a civilizational level. Okay, no, that's getting too cokey.
It's a little cokey, but, you know, like...
This will be my lion turtle thing at the end of the series.
Well, here's the thing. Bryke like disguising really fucking high concept shit in, you know... If you can tie it to, like, some form of extant philosophy that exists in, you know, like, human culture right now, or has existed, right? I think you could get away with it.
Fair enough.
So, like, they sort of disguised it in sort of the, you know, principles present in, you know, Buddhism, Jainism, Hinduism, you know, just what we in the West would call Eastern philosophy, right?
Right.
You could find some form of, you know, philosophy present anywhere in the world to sort of tie what you're talking about into and sort of bring it into that.
Vaccine denial.
No.
Okay.
No, I told you no.
Right. You had a rule. Okay.
No, fuck you, Core.
I mean, the trouble with it is I need to find one that... I guess not necessarily palatable to me. I was thinking palatable to me. But actually something palatable to them. Or at least I think they might be interested in.
Well, I'm thinking of, like... So here's the thing. We are sort of limited by our... Our perspective is somewhat limited by the fact that we are, you know, from, quote-unquote, the West, right? So, what Eastern philosophy is to us, right? Judeo-Christian mythology is to, quote-unquote, the East, right? Think of Neon Genesis Evangelion, right? I like to think of, I almost kind of like looking at the broad strokes of it, sort of in the way that, you know, Bryke was looking at the broad strokes of, you know, again, quote-unquote, Eastern philosophy when doing Avatar, right? It's interesting sort of watching, you know, one side of the world find, you know...
Maybe just a broad strokes thing on, like, utilitarianism?
That's interesting. You could do something with that.
Because then you can sort of, like... I don't know, they're analyzing these outcomes and they're trying to decide what's right to do in these cases, and this is...
That actually is reminding me of Foundation a whole lot, yeah.
Alright, so Bryke produces a Weeaboo Foundation ripoff of Pirates. That's my pitch, in a nutshell. I'm good at summarizing things sometimes.
Alright, yeah, okay, cool. I'm into this.
I think where it would drift from Foundation a bit in influences, and just because of my own... bugbears, the ultimate antagonist faction will probably not just be the hooting and hollering of the primitives, but a group trying to maintain a sort of neoliberal, this is for the best status quo.
Yeah, the ones who like who are convinced that they have it figured out and you just haven't come around to it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he'll be basically trying to like fight the cynicism with like the
those are the
previous generations of him.
Those are the fucking worst parts of me that I try to kill every day and they still live.
Man. I think the worst part of me is really vindictive and lazy. Which at least is easier because I just have to say don't.
Well, I have vindictive parts, yes, and I have lazy parts, yes, but there's parts of me that are even worse than that. Woo!
Alright, so we've run these for a while, so I'm going to throw you a fun one.
Okay.
an amusing one, sort of play us out, unless you have one for me after this.
I think you give me one last one, I'll give you one last one.
Very cool. I'm actually sort of torn between two here.
Oh, I see.
Nope, I'm bringing it back to our boy. You're doing Kubo.
Oh, fuck me. Alright. I could just bring up the Google Doc right now. I could just show the world. Because I've played this game with Tite Kubo as the impetus or as the prompt before.
Maybe want me to give you a different guy then?
If you don't want me to just go find the doc that we put all of this on. Because we did this rip before, dear listener, with Tite Kubo.
That is true. That's true. All right, give me a sec here. I just gotta get... So, in our particular batch of people, when we grew up, as we all started in that sort of shonen shoujo frame, there was one man who, in my opinion, maybe the opinions of others, was kind of the hack master. He knew how to draw. He would just walk in and grab a bunch of other people's ideas and say, look at this fresh product. Mm-hmm. What I'm trying to say, and apologies if you somehow listen to this, because I'm sure you're a nice person in your day-to-day life. Hiro Mashima, the motherfucker that does, like, Rave Master and Fairy Tail. Just a whole new thing by him. I'm going to say that, you know what? I'm going to make this fun. His whole creative approach, but he is doing a creator-owned Image Comics thing for Western audiences.
Okay, cool.
So what's your Mashima?
Okay, I'm going to do what I've been doing. Start broad, get narrower. Kind of find my way to the premise here, right? So, I don't know that this necessarily has to be some action-adventure thing, right? Because a whole lot of the time, what I've been seeing these days in, indie graphic novels is that they're not. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they are, you got your sagas, you got your crossed, you got stuff like that. But as often as not, I've seen, folks who, write superhero, stuff a whole lot of the time, on their own time, will do, some sort of, I know, I'm thinking about, Azzarello right now and Southern Bastards.
Right, yeah.
Right? Which... crime drama, so it's adjacent, right, to the action-adventure stuff that I'm talking about, right? But for whatever reason, I was thinking of Strangers in Paradise.
I still need to read that.
So that was where my head originally went. And so I'm thinking, what if, what's Fairy Tail guy's name again?
Hiro Mashima.
Hiro Mashima, right? What if Hiro Mashima, right, wrote sort of like a, so slice of life means something different in Western comics than it does in, manga, right? Mm-hmm. In manga, it is often extremely episodic, right? It's often, an extremely episodic, giant fucking cast, mostly just an excuse to have interactions between quirky characters and, probably a good deal of fan service in there, too, right? In Western comics, I find it is less episodic, far more a story that takes place in a mundane setting, yes, in order to tell, a focused story. And it's very, very broad, but that is just a pattern that I've noticed, from one side of the pond to the other. Mm-hmm. Because if the Atlantic Ocean is the pond, I guess that the Pacific Ocean is the lake, right? From one side of the lake to the other. So, with that in mind, I'm sort of into the idea of him remixing, yes, American comic book artists, but also American webcomic artists, too. And him getting in his head,
oh my god,
that Jeff Jocks,
oh my god,
is some kind of dude who should be imitated.
Oh god, I've known you just long enough that I finally hit the prestige on this magic trick you were building here.
you
dawning horror.
you had it figured out like 3 seconds beforehand.
Yeah.
So I'm. This is kind of where my head's at with this, where it is this fucking directionless slog
Oh no.
that acts at having a direction in a way that, manga often doesn't have to. Manga can just, continue doing skits, right? For as long as, the manga doesn't get canceled. In American, indie comic books, usually you have to be going somewhere. But he's not gonna fucking do that because he's been reading webcomics because you don't have to fucking pay for those.
You've invented such a disease here.
I'm playing your game right now.
This thing is going to break out of this episode and start infecting people.
God, I hope not. Actually, yeah, I hope it does because I don't like them very much. I don't think they deserve good things. It is this rom-com sort of slice of life, takes place in, I don't know, let's say Chicago. Yeah.
Sure.
Fucking Chicago. Let's say Chicago.
Chicago as rendered through photo reference.
As rendered through photo reference, Google image search. I gotta make sure that this is making fun of him and not just making fun of Jeff Jocks. But
I admire you not saying a certain hyphenated term. Actually, some people would make it one word. It's like a conjoined word.
Which word?
Head step.
No, I'm not going to make fun of, self-harm. I'm just going to make fun of the fact that he sucks at making a webcomic.
Fair.
Which he does. Okay, so it takes place in Chicago, and, right out the fucking gate, it has way the fuck too big a cast. Within the first issue of this thing, he introduces, 25 fucking characters, and from how fucking over-designed they all are, that they're all gonna be super important, and that you better fucking remember their names, Buster, or you're gonna be in the dark for the next 7 volumes.
Yes.
And he's not gonna give you a lot of time to remember their names, too, because they're gonna start becoming important, pretty much immediately. And the whole thing is all about, fucking interpersonal drama. It takes place during, one winter in Chicago, because that was the amount of research that he was willing to do. He's like, oh man, Chicago winters suck. Alright, let's do something with that. And, maybe that's an interesting place to start, but he's not going to really do anything interesting with it.
I'm imagining the hate read tag is it's still winter.
It's still winter.
It's still winter.
Because the thing goes on for 5 years, but only 3 months have passed. Wait, no, I'm not supposed to be dunking on Jeff Jocks.
I mean, I understand how this ended up being jumping on Jeff Jocks. We've taken someone who just steals shit and having him just steal from someone who sucks. So the joke is just going to end up being about the guy who sucks.
Because Fairy Tail was just him stealing from, God, what's his name? Oda Sensei?
Ichiro Oda.
Ichiro Oda, right? Yeah, it's just him stealing from Ichiro Oda. So what if he stole from Jeff Jocks instead? So instead of the gradual buildup of the gradual sort of cancerous buildup of dumb fuck supporting cast, the way that it had, the way that questionable content had, right? Mm-hmm. Instead of that, it's just immediately they're all fucking there, right? They're very important.
Damn.
You're supposed to recognize how very important all of them are.
They have very modern haircuts.
They have extremely modern haircuts. It is the middle of winter, and women dress the way they do in his comics.
Good. That's very important.
Yeah, that's we need to. That must be said.
I'm imagining fur coats of cleavage.
He'd find a way.
Amazing.
Maybe he'd get his buddy Taito on the line and be like, "Yo, you know about fashion."
Do I? Great.
You've come to the right place, my friend. Okay, let's get narrower here and just maybe let's get off Jeff for a second here. Just
Okay.
if for no other reason than just to focus the premise just a little bit. Okay, so it's about it's about some fucking asshole.
SFA for you technicians out
It's
there.
about SFA. Let's say he's new in town because he's at the very least going to recognize the fact, that you need a sort of everyman kind of character, right?
Yep.
So he just moved here from, I don't know, a city but a smaller one in America.
Like smaller than Chicago, like a Boston kind of?
Well, Boston's pretty big. Albuquerque.
Albuquerque, okay.
He just moved here from Albuquerque, right? And so, his newness to this is supposed to be, how you identify with him. But, mostly, again, he's so fucking bad at pacing all of this that he just bum rushes you with characters.
And you get halfway through his version of Pine Size's name before...
And SFA, right?
Yeah.
Does not seem to have any fucking problem remembering these people's names. Whereas you cannot be fucked. So SFA probably bumbles his way into some dumb shit love triangle, right? And that's going to be the main, disappointingly so, is going to be the main narrative thrust of this series, is that he's got 24 characters, 36 character designs, some fucking how, and it's all going to be about some dumb shit love triangle between the 3 least interesting characters in this thing.
All of his main girls sort of have the same look.
Yeah.
So I think there are 2 of them this time, and they're distinguished by hair color.
No, they're both gonna be blonde titty monsters, but one of them is gonna have shorter hair.
You're a fucking artist.
And one of them, maybe the one with longer hair, is gonna be a little bit more alt than the other one.
Yeah, a little bit more alt, sort of.
Sort of like the Brie Bella to the Brie Bella to the short-haired one's Nikki.
Oh man! By the way, a wrestle spoiler. Did you hear a fucking Bryan Danielson?
Oh yeah, he's Brighty now.
Yeah.
No longer D. Bry. Yeah, no, I'd heard about that, and also Adam Cole, and also Ruby Soho, which fucking love that rename.
If you're not too tired, there's a match you might want to see tonight. We'll get back to that later. Okay, this.
Okay. I feel like I've had my fun.
Yeah, I'd say sketch that pretty well, and honestly, just the idea of a thief stealing from questionable content is just itself. The mind opens.
There's so much awful shit you could do.
Nice.
Okay, I think I'm gonna take one last turn pitching to you, and then we can wrap this because we're getting up there.
We're getting up there, also getting towards 1:30 a.m. when the wolves come out.
When the wolves come out in South Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's fun. Okay, I'm going to give you a very Sam pitch.
I like fun.
You've got a Gundam AU. Go.
Alright, so after I clean myself up, I have a Gundam AU. Man, I was gonna ass clown the last one. Fuck you. You have to take that shit away from me.
I am the ass clown now.
Oh, man. I mean, some of these elements might be familiar to you just because of shit in my back pocket.
The thing about Gundam is that it's a lot of very similar elements kind of just playing themselves out differently each time.
Well, I just meant similar to some things we were talking about, but...
Okay, sure.
Alright, so my Gundam AU, instead of being framed against the spiritual ghosts of the world wars, is going to be framed against the spiritual ghosts of assorted failed and successful revolutions.
Okay.
It's going to be it's kind of a French Revolution, Russian Revolution scenario.
So So Mike Duncan makes his presence known in this Gundam.
Mike Duncan makes his presence extremely known in this Gundam. Also, an entire season may just be like a monster-style situational breakdown.
Cool.
I think that these are, again, my peccadillos coming out, but you said I get the AU, so here we go. We start out, our protagonist is going to be a bright-eyed and bushy-tailed young man who repeatedly discovers that every column he aligns with himself as he tries to survive this scenario either does not have intentions that match their claims or are blind to how their methods impact their environment. I guess I need to sort of draw the factional diagram out to make that more concrete.
Okay.
Because revolutions are very interesting to me, particularly because you have like this corrupt old guard, but you might have these people who know what kind of chasm these situations can sink into and think that it's better to hold things together, which debatably, depending on who you are, you're wrong in my opinion, but it might be. And that's, first off, just a great, not a char, but maybe a good place to put a little Haman in there.
Okay, cool. What did
you can have
like, this is bad, but like you should see what worse looks like.
Exactly. You have external mercenaries hired by any given faction. I'm going to slip my own Ali Al-Sach's clone in there because,
there we go.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Ali Al-Sach is Yazan Gable. The Yazan Gable.
The Yazan Gable, yeah. I
gotta give props
gotta get
to the
into
original.
Gotta get to the core of the, yeah. Yazan Gable, I think part of the tension, I might throw in a Lala / not Peacecraft, more like
Lacus? Did you ever watch Seed?
I didn't see Seed.
It was okay.
Whatever. Our sort of Lala-ish figure might just be someone that he feels new type wavelengths toward.
Sure.
That is in some kind of like monarchy or not monarchist.
I guess that Lacus was sort of
some kind of benign member of the upjumped aristocracy.
If Lacus was
the
an
entrenched
evolution
force
of the Relina, who was an evolution of the Sayla, so like Lacus can trace her lineage more to Sayla than she can to Lala. Sorry, I'm just my musings here. Ignore me.
That is totally fine. In terms of just my Gundam ideas, I'm just gonna bracket a few out there, except for the ones I use in the comic because you people don't get the milk for free. I think there will be a 3-episode intra, yeah. There will be a 3-episode intra-factional debate on whether or not they will use their equivalent of the colony laser that descends into violence, and the cooler heads do not prevail.
Because this is Gundam.
Essentially sort of a Girondin Jacobin situation, because again, this is going to be Revolution Gundam.
Sure, of course.
I think our Char, by design, pretty much has to be a guy jet stream weaving between factions.
Well, Talleyrand.
A Talleyrand.
Yeah, our Talleyrand must be Char.
Yeah, our Talleyrand must be Char. What if Talleyrand was also an ace pilot?
Fuck yes! That's the coolest shit.
Yes, you see why this would be this is the Gundam AU I do.
I'm just thinking just like him like flying his fucking red thing. It's like it's better to be ahead of something that's inevitable. Don't you see, Amuro?
I think in my treatment of a sort of Hamanish figure, it would be closer to kind of like how a military genius like Napoleon hits out of nowhere 3/4 of the way through all this insanity.
As Haman kind of did.
Yeah. Essentially a board flipper who is a new type, who is that dude, that girl.
Okay.
Perhaps to keep things from being a pure mirror, I would have... them Jacobins, though. I was going to say I would have them represent like a counter-revolutionary force, but I would be really interested in the sort of guillotine segments of this. Or I think they would be well served by being part of the guillotine segments of this. That's something I would have to hash out. But you get the general idea.
Yeah, I definitely get the general idea.
The important things here are revolutionary framed Gundam. Probably just contain the whole thing to like Mars the whole fucking time.
Okay. Well, contractually, some of it would need to take place on space, and some of it would have to take place on Earth. You just gotta.
I think in the phase where, you know, France sort of stomping over nearby countries saying, "You're free now, like us," it was like a pistol held behind their head.
Well, it's like that fucking that cover in the National Lampoon with them aiming the gun at the dog.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, also, I'm gonna during this one's version of Reentry, because of Reentry drama is just one of my favorite Gundam things.
Oh, it's so fun, yeah.
I think I might just do like my S1 or S2 finale within some Reentry drama.
Okay, cool.
Like named characters are going to burn.
I think that was like when it became clear that Gundam was going to be really good was during that Reentry sequence in the first season.
Yeah.
Not season, the first series.
It's special, and it's... Yeah, the series has a way of that kind of thing, and I would definitely like to bring that kind of thing to this kind of frame.
Okay.
And the erection I have for the words Talleyrand Char are slightly tilting my plans.
Oh my
for
god,
the show.
yeah, right? It's so good.
And yeah, that's mine for that. Thank you all for listening to us bloviate about theory. Don't be surprised if some version of this with one or both of our names stuck on it runs into the world at some point.
Bro, that Satoshi Kon one is money.
Yeah. Sleep well. Get fucking vaxxed if you haven't.
Please get vaccinated.
Why are you even on my fucking
Please,
website?
I want this to be over. Get fucking vaccinated.
I like live entertainment. Also living.
Living. I like going out to eat.
Godspeed. This is Weeaboo Hell.
Fuck 12.
Fuck 12. We're going back to one. Fuck 12. Alright, peace.